If you've been in the church long enough, then you're going to get offended. Go ahead and laugh. It's kind of a funny statement. But think about it. If you've been in a church a long time, you can go like, man, I remember in that church, man, they had that knockdown, drag out. I remember this, I remember that. And if you're in a church long enough, then somehow you're going to get offended. The chances are high that the pastor is going to offend you by something he or she says. The pastor is going to offend you by something he or she doesn't do because you have an expectation. They should have done this. They should have done that. There's going to be offense in the church because the church didn't make a decision that you thought was the right decision. Wherever it is, there's going to be anger and offenses that we're going to experience that. We're going to be faced with those decisions. And the question is, how will you handle that? Are you going to get mad and just leave and say, I'm done with it, and chunk my church to the curb and just, I've washed my hands? Or are you going to lean into it, as Paul would say, and deal with it in a way that biblically is how we're to deal when we have things that we don't understand or we might disagree? There's a couple of different people, generalities that deal with this. There's the person who's going to be quiet about things. Maybe this is you, maybe you know somebody. And what they do is they're mad, they're angry, they're upset, but they'll never say anything about it. And they just kind of implode. And they volcano. It's like, whoa, where'd that come from? And then you got another group of people that what they do is they get angry and they start putting it out on Facebook and Instagram, and they DM people, and they're trying to build their coalitions and make sure that everybody knows how angry and mad they are and what it is. And the more people they can get on their side, they feel like, wow, now it really is an issue. And so we learn that this is not the way to go. The Apostle Paul says this is not the way to handle it. In fact, what we see, what he says here is, he says that we are to deal with it in the ways in which he said in Colossians. I had a friend tell me one time and said, no one is ever more offended in the church than the one who's preaching. Can you imagine if every time I was offended, I left my church? I'd be changing churches every day. I mean, think about that. So we're called to stick it in. We're called to stand up. We're called to work through things because of family. And we're called to deal with that.